Are you feeling the heat this summer to grow your email list? It's not enough these days to connect with our target readers through social media and platforms that can change and go away at the snap of a finger. We want target readers on our email list so we can reach out to them anytime, one-on-one, without relying on an algorithm to get our message to them, right? This week, we're continuing our Grow by Guesting summer series of short and sweet episodes to help you grow an audience of book buyers by guesting on podcasts long before and long after you have a book in hand. And today, we're going to dive into how you can grow your email list by guesting on podcast. So let's get to it. Hey y'all, welcome to Book Marketing Mania. I'm Kim, a book marketing strategist for Christian authors, and I'm so thrilled you're here to learn how to grow your author platform, market your book on podcast, and steward your message in a way that honors God and your time. Do you remember Michael Hyatt, author of the book Platform, talking about author platforms and the importance of a mailing list forever ago? That was back in the olden days of us bloggers where we were pretty laid back, and if someone chose to get our blog post by email, that meant they subscribed to an RSS feed and received an email notification every time a blog posted. And it was either the whole blog post in email or a short excerpt with a link to read the rest. Nothing personal, no offer made, nada. But times have changed and continue to change, and we have to be more proactive at reaching out to our target readers and extending the invite to join our email list, especially by enticing them with a freebie. And if you've listened to episode 77 with literary agent Barb Roose, she talked about the importance of an email list in publishers' and agents' eyes because, she said, building a mailing list is going to be directly correlated to the strength of someone's book sales. And a great way to beat the heat and grow your email list full of future book buyers is by guesting on podcasts. As listeners hear your interview, hear you serving from your heart, hear you strategically dropping little nuggets and offering a super enticing freebie at the end, your audience will be so thrilled to connect with you and keep the conversation going on your email list. And if you've been around here a while, you know I'm a big believer in not only marketing your book long before it launches, but also long after your release too. There's always new listeners and new readers for you to reach who need the God-given message you have for them. So if you're wondering, how can I market my books that have been on the shelf for a little bit, or how to build a buzz because you can't really do it in the same way that your book launch did, then you should definitely give podcast guesting a shot. Podcast guesting gives you a fresh opportunity to serve new listeners who become new readers as you lead them over to your email list and continue to nurture them there and invite them to learn more about your book. And again, with agents and publishers for your next book, they'll likely look at the sales results of your last book, and a podcast tour might be just what you need to help you sell more books through your email list. So I know one of your burning questions is, what if I don't have a book yet? What topic do I pitch, and what freebie do I use? Well, last week on episode 81, we talked about a variety of topics you could pitch, and some of those may even come from one of your existing lead magnets. Or you may decide to create one or two new simple freebies that complement one of your pitching topics. For one of my past clients, I worked with her prior to and after her launching her traditionally published book, and this strategy would work for you even if you haven't written your book yet. So she was with a large publisher who hired a PR firm to pitch her during the book launch. Now, this was a few years ago when the big PR push was right around the book release date. And nowadays, PR is getting involved way earlier as they see podcast hosts are batching episodes earlier and earlier. So my client's goal with podcast guesting before her book released was to grow her email list. Now, her intention was to grow it for pre-orders. She had a strong, nurturing email sequence set up. She just needed more people on the list. Does that sound familiar? Again, this strategy would work long before you write your book too. Now, the target readers for my client's blog and past book were moms, but she was releasing a new book as a co-author, and the topic was on suffering and difficult life circumstances. And the target readers were much more broad than just moms. It was for both men and women. And as we all know, there's no age limit on suffering. Now, we knew her PR firm was going to do a big push at release date, and we had helped them create the podcast pitch list. And we knew there was a limit to the number they would pitch during their contracted term. And again, they would be pitching a wider audience for the book. So we identified podcasts that were speaking to her target audience of moms, and we developed a topic that aligned with one of her popular freebies for moms and pitched that to prospective podcast hosts. So she was able to serve the audience and lead those listeners over to her email list and nurture them on an ongoing basis. And when the time came, they received her pre-order sale sequence with emails personalized for moms, but also selling her new book. So her goal with growing by guesting was to build her email list for pre-orders. Now, she could have used that same strategy to grow her email list of potential book launch team members. What moms wouldn't want the opportunity to get a free book, share it with their mom friends, and get to interact with the author behind the scenes? That's the beauty of a launch team. And hey, side note, if you haven't listened to episode 62, where I talk about the common podcast pitching mistake of only pitching when launching your book, be sure to go back and listen. Because something I see happening is during a launch, the focus is only on buying the book. And that's the call to action in your interview. Check out my book on Amazon or go here to a book page and pre-order and get the bonuses. However, your episode may air later than that when the buzz has died down and maybe you don't have those bonuses anymore. It's at that point when you realize, oops, I really need a strong freebie that listeners will want anytime they hear the interview. And then again, you can tell them about your book in your nurture sequence. So podcasts are evergreen, long-form content, so new readers and listeners will be discovering the episode months and sometimes years later and will likely take action to get a freebie over buying the book at that time. So this week, think about how you can grow by guesting and build an email list full of your target readers even long before you write your book. Maybe you'll use the freebie already on your website. Or maybe you'll want to create a new one specific to a pitch topic you'll use when guesting. Either way, show up to serve well as a podcast guest, and listeners will be eager to stay connected by joining your email list. Are you ready to get started? Grab my free video training on 5 steps to jumpstart your podcast pitching, and I'll link it here in your player. Or if you've already started and you have some burning questions about your pitch topics, what freebie to use, or how to drop nuggets about your freebie during the interview, I've opened up some special 30-minute calls for my listeners throughout June and July, so we can jump on the phone quick wherever it's convenient for you this summer. Go to kimstewartmarketing.com/summer to grab your session, and I'll put a link here in your podcast player too. And I can't wait to help you beat the heat and grow your audience of book buyers this summer. That's all for today, and as always, I'll be there for you next week to help you market your book one podcast at a time. See you then.